What's going to happen when I do hardly any editing and I talk off the top of the mind? Yeah, we're about to find out today, because today we're going to address something that was actually brought up in the Elite Squad Gilded server on the forums over there. And I wanted to address this because it's been a while. The channel's grown, a lot of new folks. Maybe you don't even notice it, but these are things that you probably need to know because it's one of the pillars of this channel. Now, I have done a pillar video, a couple, I think, on what this channel is about. I'm just going to touch on one of those pillars today, though, and kind of expand on it a little bit, so you guys will know exactly what to expect when you come to this channel, because a lot of people still don't get it. I know a lot of people ask me the question, one of the most popular questions, if not the most popular question on this channel is, why is it that you don't cover the game I refuse to mention by name on this channel? I'm not going to answer that question until I get to a place where I think that an entire video, because that's what it's going to take, will be appropriate for me to answer that question, and I want enough people to see that, or at least be in the pot. So I'm looking at 100,000 subscribers is probably about the time when I will answer that question. And since I'm only at a little bit over 14,000, it might be a while. So you might want to stop asking that question. I'm just saying. But I will say this. Normally on the first Tuesday of the month here in RPG Elite, we do what's called the RPG Elite Philosophy videos. And we're in this series called the RPG Elite Philosophy for Life. However, today we're going to do a little bit of a pivot because I'm able to do that. But because I'm actually recording the video on the same day that I'm releasing it, there's gonna hardly be any editing on this thing. I mean, I'm gonna have some, but there's gonna be hardly any editing on this thing. And I'm coming off the top of the dome. I got a couple of bullet points here, but you know, mostly this is where I kind of thrive too. I do better when I'm like that. I do well in both, but I do better when I'm off the top of the mind and I just know this stuff. I'm going to answer a question today that was asked yesterday. This is the reason why I had to pivot like immediately. On the forums on the Elite Squad Gilded server. And it dawned on me as I was answering this question that, maybe, you know, there's been people who've come onto the channel now, and so maybe you guys don't know this, or maybe some of you do know it but don't understand why. Because one of the most popular questions I always get, always, I think this is the most popular question. Why do you not cover the game that I refuse to mention by name on this channel? And I have said this, so I'm going to say it again. I'm probably going to have to say it again because as new people come in, you have to kind of repeat yourself. The reasons are manifold. And I've said that I will answer that question because there are like 6 or 7 reasons why. However, I'm only going to do that once I get to a place to where I've got a big enough pool of people who will pay attention. So that will be when I get to 100,000 subscribers. Now, seeing that I only have a little bit over 14,000, it's going to be a minute. So unless there's going to be an influx of folks who come over here and subscribe to the channel, you might want to stop asking that question because I'm serious as a heart attack. I'm not going to answer it until I get to that number. All right. But I am going to answer this question that was asked yesterday, which is kind of sort of tied to it. Kind of. So let me do that today. And then on the other side, as always, I got the question of the vid. So I want you guys to get ready for that and last to the end. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this question that I was asked. So we're going to roll into this, and I'm going to have 4 points that I'm going to make concerning this particular question I was asked yesterday. I'm just going to jump right into it, y'all. Let's do this like Brutus, because you always knew this, and roll 'em. Okay, so here's the question. The question is, why are fantasy RPGs forbidden? Specifically in the RPG Elite network? It's a good question. Now, those of you who've been on the channel for a while, a lot of my elites, you guys already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to expand this today so you get some specifics. But you'll notice something, right? Dude doesn't cover any fantasy. Like none. Like go back and look at my videos. I cover 0. Why is that? Let's start with number 1. It's played out. It is oversaturated and played to death. And when this is me, anytime that happens, I'm going in another direction. Let me give you an example just in comics. Back in the early 90s, everybody and their mama was collecting X-Men comics. Most popular comic on the planet. And I wasn't, because, you know, every once in a while I would do it, but I didn't think the writing was all that great, so that was one reason. But I liked another team, and that's who I wanted to collect, so that's who I was collecting. Actually, it was 2 teams I was collecting at that time. One, Fantastic Four. Yeah, I love me some Fantastic Four. The other, the Avengers. Yeah, I was collecting Avengers with nobody hardly. I mean, people were collecting it, of course, but it was not, you know, most popular one at all. I mean, it was some way down there, but I love the team. But when it gets played out and everybody and their mama just hops on the bandwagon or what, yeah, my knee-jerk reaction is to go in the opposite direction. But for me, in this case, it's not just that. But for the most part, you can put a blindfold on, throw a dime at the wall, and hit somebody on YouTube covering fantasy. So I have nothing to bring to the table when it comes to that. So I just let other people do that. And I'm going to go in a separate direction. I'm going in another direction. And here's reason number 2 that I'm going in another direction. Second reason is that I just never been a real big fan. It's not that I haven't been a fan at all. That's somewhere way down the line in terms of genre interest for me. It doesn't hold it. So I could not do a channel like that and have it be genuine because I don't like it all that much. I don't hate it, and we're gonna get to that in a second. I don't hate it. It's just not my first choice. Let me give you an example. Just some of you know this already, but for those who don't, when I first came into tabletop RPGs back in the early to mid 1980s, yep, I started off with the game that I refuse to mention by name on this channel. However, I quickly ditched that because I saw a yellow box set in my local gaming store called Marvel Superheroes. And folks, after that, I was off to the races. I was done. Now, I played with other people that I knew because that's what they were playing, but I didn't play with them all the time because that's not what I wanted to play. And I'm the one that always introduced new stuff to them. And everybody's just kind of like, what's going on? I was like, come on, what's wrong with y'all? Jeez, it's just a game. Try something out, try something new. So I got some of them hooked on some of this stuff. Oh yeah, some of them went out and started buying some different stuff instead of just buying what everybody else was buying. But for me, shoot, went from Marvel Basic, went then to Marvel Advanced. Right after that, did a little bit of Gamma World, and it was right around that time too that I had the Traveler Starter set, box set that I bought. What did I do after that? I think it was a little bit Twilight 2000 that I did after that. We did some Star Wars, some West End games, Star Wars, even though I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I tried it out. I was trying out a whole bunch of things, but it was mostly Marvel Superheroes. 7-year campaign, the whole 9, it was dopeness. Very dope. It's just never been on the radar for me. It's not that, it just hasn't been. Sorry. And I want to do you guys justice when it comes to presenting content on here. And you guys will pick up if I'm really into something or whether I'm not into something. And so I don't want to do that to y'all. So if I'm going to cover things on this channel, it's going to be things that we can both kind of come to an agreement with and be like, okay, let's kind of look at this right here. Let's get excited about this right here. So that's another reason. But there's another one. It's coming up right now. Now, I just told you that it's not that I don't like fantasy at all. I don't hate it. I don't have anything against it. It's not my first love. When I do play fantasy, I like a particular kind of fantasy. And really only one. Just be quite honest, right? I really only like one, and that's Tolkien. Which is why I've been running a One Ring campaign for the last almost 6 years. So it's not like I don't like fantasy at all. I do. I only like a particular kind of fantasy, however. So again, RPG Elite here, picky as a mug. And it's not what everybody else is going to like. And so I, had people come on down, be like, yo, you want to try this one out? And there was people like, yeah, we want to try it out. 6 years later, here we are still. You'd be amazed what will happen if you just would expand your horizons, stop being programmed. People are willingly programmed, and some people don't even know that they're programmed, so that's ignorantly. But just the programming is insane. It's just insane. You would think that after a while you would grow out of that stuff, want to spread your wings, do something different. Hey, if that's the only thing that you ever like, I get it, because I love me some superhero tabletop RPGs. If I had to choose any genre to play for the rest of my life, and that was the only genre I can play in tabletop RPGs, it would be superheroes, bar none. I wouldn't even have to think about it. But there's a lot of people who just won't do it because they're afraid. I think part of it is because they're afraid. Another part is, I don't feel so comfortable. I have to learn a new system. Yeah, you have to do that with every tabletop RPG. Isn't that something? But it doesn't take you long. It can take you anywhere from half an hour to an hour to actually learn the basics of any tabletop RPG. And you can learn the specifics as you go. It's silliness to me. But when I play, I only like a certain type, y'all. But this last one is really a big chunk of it. It's a huge chunk. So when I got serious with YouTube, I had 2 channels that were possibles that in the direction that I was going to go. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do both channels. I didn't know what I was getting into. But before I really start diving in, I wrote down some things. And there were a lot of questions that I had. This is the same original sheet. And there were 4 major questions that I had asked here. And one of them is, how is your channel different? And I had to think about that. And keeping in mind all the things that I've just mentioned, I said, well, I'm just going to do non-fantasy tabletop RPGs. That is going to be the RPG Elite Network brand. So the place where you learn about the games that maybe nobody is talking about or hardly anyone else is talking about, it's going to be here on RPG Elite. It's going to be on this network. It is a network, by the way, because I'm on a couple of social media channels like Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of that stuff. So if you're over there too, and you want to get hooked up, you can get hooked up over there as well. But that is the main reason. It's just not part of the brand. It was never meant to be from the very beginning. The brand is the RPG Elite Network, covers non-fantasy, alternative genre, tabletop RPGs. That's the gist right there. And that's a really huge chunk of why I don't do it. I mean, the other ones they're major too, but as far as the network is concerned, yeah, that's the reason why. That's my brand. My brand is, I'm the non-fantasy guy. So if people, know anything about RPG Elite, they know me for mainly, and I'm just guessing here off the top of the mind, but they know me mainly for 2 reasons. Number one, this RPG Elite philosophy thing. And the other is he does no fantasy. And that's my shtick. That's my deal. That's my bag. And I love it because the content is copious. There's no way in the world that I am going to, I can't, I got to cut stuff out, y'all. It's really hard. The amount of content that I have being non-fantasy in the tabletop RPGs, and y'all know fantasy is all over the place. And I'm struggling here trying to figure out, okay, I got to cut this out. I got to leave this. I'm going to cut this. I got to leave this. There's plenty out there. There's plenty. And this is where I like to stay. Right here in the pocket, y'all. This is where I'm comfortable at. So yeah, it's not part of the brand because the brand is non-fantasy alternative genre tabletop RPGs. So there you are. So I pray that actually helps to answer any questions you may have about why I will not cover fantasy on the RPG Elite Network. I pretty much expanded and gave you the full Monty there. And if none of those are satisfactory, then this channel is not for you. This channel is not for you because nothing in my network, nothing on my Twitter, on my Facebook, on the Guilded server, on the website, except when I'm doing my top 3 favorite, but I'm not really covering the game. You know what I mean by covering the game. I don't mention games, but I don't cover them. I don't get deep. I don't do deep dives. I don't do that stuff. Not with fantasy. So, that's what you can expect when you come to this channel. There it is, y'all. All right. Hey, if you got any value out of this video and now you know a little something that you didn't know before, maybe you're entertained a little bit, maybe it has prepared you for coming to this channel from now on. You're like, okay, thank you for that. Then if you could do a brother solid, could you do something for me? Can you crush the like button? Also, if you want to stick around, maybe this is your first video and you're wondering, who is this cat? It's your boy, Servant of Shiloh, in the hizzy. And if you want to stick around, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I got a question in this vid for you, tied to the question, kind of what I said earlier in the video. If you had one game, or in one genre, and it was the only one you could play for the rest of your life, which would it be? Some of y'all might say fantasy, and hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But if you had to choose, I'm talking about had to choose, and you only got one, what would you play for the rest of your life in tabletop RPGs? Let's get some engagement going down in the comments below. That'll do it for me, y'all. Y'all know what that means. Brother gotta do is snuggle puss.
So exit, stage left.
Y'all got a game this week? Hey, happy gaming, y'all. I pray it is an RPG Elite session. And so, till next time, God willing, your boy Servant has to sign off and be like, peace, 5,000 elites. I am outie.